try really hard not to bounce my camera around as I hold it, because it's been a long time since I've done a vlog, but that was the thing that really bothered me when I was editing. We're gonna not show you so much of the disaster that is the kitchen, and I'm gonna go on a long-ass walk, which I don't think I've really done for like a year. I mean, I've gone for a couple of walks with like some friends, but in the pandemic, before I got my gym membership, I would grab an audiobook and I would walk for hours. I kind of was walking to visit free libraries and then mark where I found more free libraries. And I really haven't been able to do that. And I have a pile of books that need to go back. So I'm going to go on an at least like a 2-hour walk. I'm going to grab lunch at this Jewish sandwich deli that's, I mean, if I walk straight there, it's maybe 15 minutes. But I'm going to meander and visit some free libraries and drop stuff off. I'm not aiming to like pick stuff up, but I mean, I'm not going to be mad if I find something that makes me super excited. And I also want to go for a walk to test out these newish shoes that I'm wearing. I've been wearing them for about 2 weeks to work, and they are super comfortable. They're from the brand Xero, Xero, and they're like a barefoot shoe. And I initially got them because my gym shoes were hurting. I was finding that when I would change into them, I would immediately like have pain in my toes. That seemed concurrent with the toe box not being wide enough. And then also I wanted some zero drop shoes, which means that like there is no extra cushioning under your heel. Your heel sits flat like a barefoot shoe, like you're barefoot. Because that helps with balance and stuff when you're lifting. And in the gym, they've been amazing. Like, my balance is so much better. I really haven't tested these shoes with being on them for many hours at one time and, like, being on, like, a hard surface like concrete. Because, like, at my job, I do have a desk, but, like, I'm up and down. So, like, I am on my feet, but I'm not usually on my feet for more than, like, 30 minutes at a time. But what am I going to be listening to? I have a few minutes left on Unmasking Autism by Dr. Devin Price, who I really, really love their work. Their first book, Laziness Does Not Exist, was one of my favorite, not just like one of my favorite nonfiction books, but like one of my favorite books of last year. And their current book, Unmasking Autism, is fantastic. Like the way, the scope of research, the way they conduct interviews, the intersectionality and diverse perspectives that they include is so great. And like the way that they explain stuff, it's like a combination of like the history and like foundational knowledge and then personal anecdote and then like where the fuck do we go from here? And they present stuff in like very easy to understand, digestible and applicable ways. So I have like literally just like 10 minutes left in that. And then the next book I have on deck is Miss Meteor. I don't remember if it's a middle grade or a young adult, but I remember it is about two characters. One is non-binary and or trans, I think non-binary. And then another person who I think is a girl and is queer, who enters a beauty pageant. You know, she's kind of defying expectations about this beauty pageant. But it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's going to be like a cute, queer, affirming romance kind of story. So that's my next audiobook. So yeah, I need to stop chatting and start walking. am back from my walk. Yeah, I did end up walking about 2 hours, but the walk was good. The thing I ordered at the deli was good. It was avocado and fried egg and seasoning on an inch thick piece of sourdough. It was kind of messy, but pretty good. And then I went across the street and I got some Thai iced tea from a Thai restaurant that I've never actually eaten at. It's really cute inside. I should make a point of going back there. But I wanted some Thai iced coffee because I like it. Now I'm back, and even though I just had that coffee, I just want to take a nap. So I might do that. And I'm maybe like 30% of the way through Miss Meteor now. So this story, it follows two former best friends. They just kind of grew apart over time. We have Chiqui, like Chiquita, short for Chiquita, like Chiquita Banana, who is she is the one who is tall and awkward and has 3 sisters who have previously entered in their town's beauty pageant, and she's kind of the odd one out. She identifies as pansexual, but she's like not out, and she's partially because like she's experienced some like homophobic bullying in the past and kind of is just trying to like lay low. And there's like a theme in this book of like the town is tolerant of some things, but like it has to be a very short list, you know. And the fact that like she's already like physically awkward and Latino is like, that's it, you're not allowed to be any more weird than that. But then we also see that like there's another character who is a trans boy, but he fills the role of boy very well. You know, he's athletic and good looking and is one of the guys and is the brother of like a very popular girl in school. So like they're tolerant of him, but we definitely see that again, like it's like there's still this requirement of like you have to fit into the idealized box of a certain demographic. You can't really span multiple boxes because then that's too much. So Chiqui is finally just fed up with bullying, particularly from the mean girl Kendra, and decides to try to make sure that Kendra does not win the local talent and beauty pageant called Miss Meteor. The town is called Meteor, sometimes called Meteorite. And then her former best friend, Lita, short for Estrellita, which means star. Apparently, she is a girl made of stardust. And this is a fantastical element of the story that I'm not quite sure yet how real it is and how much it might be a fantastic metaphor for something. She's afraid that like her body is kind of dissolving and turning back into stardust, so she's like living on borrowed time, and she is also bullied for like being weird and whatever. And she decides that she's always wanted to enter this beauty pageant. So, and then as children, she and Chiquita used to play at being beauty pageant contestants, and Chiquita was her manager. So she's like, all right, maybe we're not friends anymore, but maybe I can hire her to be my manager, and maybe I can, you know, try my damnedest to try and win this thing and upset this thing. And there's like a repeated conversation that this town that's like 50% Latino and brown, every single time the winner of this beauty pageant is skinny and blonde and white, even though that's not really consistently a representation of their town. And so that's kind of where we are in the story now, is Chiquita and her sisters are trying to trying to train Lita to hopefully be a viable contestant. And when we're definitely only in like early days yet of that, and it's rough going. But anyway, but so yeah, they're dealing with like some like heavy topics, but it's also like super sweet, and Definitely see the beginning buds of potential, like, romances. I'm not really sure exactly what direction everything is going to go for everyone. But I love seeing, like, the sisters and everyone kind of, like, band together despite their personality differences. And I think what I like about this is, like, these characters kind of, like, even with, like, the bullying and even with, like, trying to hide aspects of themselves, like, they're aware of themselves. It's not like, someone's closeted because they think it's the worst thing to be. It's more like they're closeted because they recognize that it's not fully safe for them to be out. They're not in denial about what their reality is. They're just dealing with coming out is a choice. And I like that the story is kind of respecting that, like, it might not be safe for some people to be fully out of what, expressing whatever their authentic self is. Or it just maybe, like, long term they'll be fine, but it might just be, like, too difficult for someone to, like, take on, in addition to all the other stresses of being 16. So I like that there is this nuanced perspective to the world. Okay, I'm gonna finish up this coffee and take a nap for like 20 minutes, and then maybe I will be awake. Maybe. I don't know. It's a weekend. If I want to just chill, I'm gonna chill. Hello. So I totally meant to take a short nap while the coffee kicked in, and I was out for well over an hour. And when I woke up and realized I'd been asleep, that it was like already 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, but I feel like I could sleep more. But I very slowly have dragged myself out of bed. So anyway, yeah, I'm guessing, like, there must have, like, not been a lot of coffee in that Thai-iced coffee, and or I really fucking needed a nap. And also this sleeping through caffeine in my system is part of a laundry list of symptoms and behaviors that have led me to starting the very long backlisted process of trying to get assessed for ADHD. And it's not that I don't want to get too far into it, because I'm like, most of my information comes from social media, which is very conflicting. Which, take it with a grain of salt. But I do see a consistent thing about how the ADHD brain responds differently to caffeine. And thinking back, especially like on a lot of things in college, how at some point caffeine did not affect my ability to sleep. And caffeine seems to have more of an effect on my mood than it does on actual physical energy. I'm not making a diagnosis based on that, but I'm like, I'm not baffled by I drank coffee and then immediately slept for an hour, because that's happened before. I'm gonna go continue listening to more Miss Meteor, because it is a delightful, charming time, and very slowly start to reclaim my life, starting with the kitchen. Good morning. Hello. It's the next day. I am going to go to the gym today in the morning. I've already run the dishwasher. I'm productive. I mean, it's almost 10. So, like, it's not like I've gotten the most early start to my day. Anyway, I am continuing on with Miss Meteor. It's so good. Like, I feel like I'm having trouble, like, doing anything else, because all I want to do is just, like, get through this story. It's so beautiful, and so, it's not, like, super funny, but, like, there's this joy in it that I just love. So I think I explained the setup about this beauty pageant. And then I think pretty soon after that, there's an incident where when Lita is trying to rehearse her talent, she ends up injuring the star of a sports team. Just like the emotional roller coaster of this, I think, is really well done, because you see how crushing like some of these moments are, and then that makes it so, it just makes it so like satisfying and euphoric whenever these kids like overcome like the hurdle that is put before them, you know, like the bratty contestants that they're fighting against when they try to like sabotage them, and then when they just kind of figure out how to roll with it. And yeah, and there's like really interesting conversations in here about not just like beauty standards and like being queer in a small town, but also like the power of like white supremacy in who is allowed to be successful and who is allowed to feel safe, and like the language that they use in terms of who belongs. There's a lot in here about belonging. And with that, the kind of fantastic element of the story, like I do think like it's real in the sense that yes, other characters outside of Lita's family do witness this thing, but it is a beautiful metaphor about belonging, and I really like how it's woven into the story. And then so now let's see, I am, what is that, like 70%? So it's more like 75% or something through the book, and we do have lovely burgeoning romances with these kids, these teenagers, and I like that it's not insta-love. I like that there's like bumps in the road of like these kids being able to like be honest about their feelings to themselves and this other person, and like navigating how they express that. It's lovely. It's giving me like Felix Ever After vibe feelings, in terms of a similar like emotional roller coaster that I am so along for the ride. I mean, the story is quite different. If you enjoyed that story and the emotional ride of that story, I think this is in a very similar vein without being a repeat of that story at all. It is something very unique. It makes my heart feel full. I've got some laundry ready to go, and then I will eat and shower and recover from the gym. Ooh, and this afternoon, I am going to, in this early evening, from 4 to 8 p.m., I am volunteering with this organization called WashMasks, which is like short for Washington Masks, which is an organization that is mostly comprised of Latine theater artists in Seattle who are providing resources for migrant farm workers. And they initially started by providing them like COVID masks because like they were essential workers and their employers were not providing them shit. And still are not, of course. But this particular thing that we're doing, we are assembling heat stress prevention kits, which I don't know what all goes into that yet, but we're assembling the kits tonight. And then this weekend, I don't know the details yet. I haven't gotten details yet, but I've signed up to be available to drive these packages out to various farming communities. Because I have time to like do shit like this. I'm on furlough from my job for 8 weeks. I will link the WashMasks website if you are in the Seattle or Washington area and want to learn more about it, or if you just like want to learn more about it in general. I'm sure they would accept like financial donations for this. Good morning. So my plan for today is I'm going to try to edit and hopefully upload today because it's Tuesday. My May reading wrap up part 2. Another hour of book chattiness, book chaos coming at you. So right now all the audio is rendering, and I want to make sure that's all done so I can kind of like play with some levels before I start cutting everything up into tiny little clips. So I want to do that. I want to hopefully film Meteor book freakout tag. I think it's about time to film that one, because especially it wouldn't come out until next week at the earliest. In terms of reading, finished Miss Meteor. So sweet. I love it. I love it. Ends happy, don't you worry. And I think I also compare it to Felix Ever After because I don't read a lot of contemporary young adult. I don't really read a lot of contemporary anything, in particular young adult. And even though this one does have like fantasy elements in it, I would not categorize it as a fantasy. Like it's a contemporary with fantasy elements. So I finished that. Something I've been reading for a couple weeks, maybe only like 2 weeks. This is To Hold the Bridge by Garth Nix. This is a collection. There's To Hold the Bridge is the title of like a short story novella that takes place in the Sabriel Abhorsen world. And then there's like a whole bunch of other short stories in here that are kind of grouped by theme a little bit. I'm kind of struggling to like get through it. Like I'm enjoying it, but I'm finding that my brain doesn't really do short stories very well. In particular, at least ones like this, because I don't like that I get into a world, I start to like understand the world, I start to understand the magic, I start to actually like remember characters and their names, and then the story's over, and then I have to be introduced to a new story and get used to it again, and I'd rather just get immersed into a single story for the entirety of the book. So I'm struggling to like hold my attention to it, you know. And also these stories in particular, there's really like zero character development in any of them. What they really feel like is these were potential future book ideas, potential like magic worlds, potential interpretations of vampires or whatever, and like as like a writing experiment, Garth Nix wrote out like a fleshed out scene that like maybe like this could have been like an introductory chapter to a potential book to kind of like get a feel for if this was something that could be a whole book. So there's really no character development, and there's no like really interesting or complete themes explored. It's really like, here's a snapshot of a world. Now, the snapshot of the worlds are really good. Like definitely Garth Nix's strengths are interesting magic systems, interesting creatures, interesting interpretations of, again, like things like vampires or zombies or whatever. So like overall, like I am enjoying it because I find like the worlds that he creates very interesting, but it's like as soon as I really get on board and interested in the world, the story ends and I'm on to a new thing. So and I think like that's not necessarily unique to him and his writing. I think like in thinking of other short story things I've read in the past, like yeah, it's not the best way to keep my brain engaged in the story. So I'm just checking through this, you know, one story at a time, a couple pages at a time. And then also yesterday I started the audiobook for Small Favor, which is Dresden book, the Dresden Files book number, I forget the number, I'll put it up here on the screen. I think it's like number 9 or 10, I'm getting up there. And yeah, I always enjoy the audiobooks of this. I think like James Marsters does a fantastic job narrating them. Let's see, in this one, the title comes from, pretty quickly we open into a conflict where Mab, the fairy Queen of Winter, calls on Harry Dresden to like he owes her some favors, and she calls one of them in. So that's like where the story starts. We definitely see Harry has some lightness to him. Like in the past couple of books, he's been dealing with a thing that I can't really describe in detail because it's kind of a spoiler for like what happens, but he's been dealing with a thing that's kind of been like adding a lot of darkness to him. And he is now, you can definitely see that he's free, or at least much more free from that influence. But there is like a great little conversation in here where like Queen Mab tempts him again, with Do You Want to Be My Winter Knight, that's an offer she's made to him before, and he's turned down before. And he has this whole little monologue about, like, he would enjoy it. Like, there is a darkness in him that would really revel in that amount of power, in that amount of status, and that. And, you know, he says no. And this is something that I do like in the story, and with Harry's character. This is a part of Harry's character that I like and I think is done well, in that, like, people are not just inherently good or inherently bad. There is an element of choice, and it's not a one-time choice. Like, you choose to be good with every single decision put in front of you, and it's a hard choice. You know, even like choosing to be evil, it's like you definitely see characters where, like, yeah, you see the sacrifices they've made, you see what they miss out on, and you see the regret and stuff. So I do really enjoy the complexity of dealing with, like, the good side and the bad side within a single person. Yeah, so I don't remember how far along in it I am, maybe like 20% or so. Like, I usually get through these pretty fast. But yep, that one came available through my library, so that's another thing I'm listening to when I'm not physically reading a book. Hello, I have no idea what the audio is going to sound like in here. You're in my bathroom, and then you're also in my medicine cabinet. We'll see how it goes. I don't know, change of setting for the vlog. Let's see, what am I doing today? Today's Wednesday. I'm meeting a friend at 10:30. It's currently like 9:10, and I was gonna take the light rail in to see her. I've decided to drive, so I don't feel so rushed. And so it doesn't take as long. She offered some places near her to meet. And one of them is a place called Ada's Technical Books, which is like a little bookstore cafe place that I've never been into. I'm going to actually remember to bring my reusable coffee mug if they accept them. Some places accept them, some places are still saying no. But I'm going to remember to bring it this time. And if it's like a cute little bookstore, maybe I'll very sneakily film some footage of what it looks like. I smeared some eyeliner. Still look cute though. You will have just seen the footage from inside of Ada's Technical Books, and it's delightful. I had no idea it was that big. And also I didn't realize that it was like a full bookshop. I thought, like, when it says Technical Books, that it was like books of that description. But I mean, they do have a room in the back. I don't think I got footage of that one, but it is like computer books, coding books, like textbook kind of stuff. But they had a little bit of everything. And then, like, their kids book section was like great. It was delightful. I will absolutely have to go. I didn't realize. Let me finish a fucking sentence. Oh my god. It's delightful. I will absolutely have to go back. The coffee I got was good. It was like a seasonal special thing. I bought a book. I bought Lake Lore by Anna Marie McLemore. It's interesting. I was just like thinking maybe like beginning of last month or something, but I'm like, I feel like I'm falling out of love with YA a little bit. Like, I need to be very judicious about buying YA. Maybe I just need to like bring it into borrow it from the library. And then I go and buy a YA. But I just finished reading, but this is one of the authors of Miss Meteor, which I just read and loved. And then I've also heard very good things about this book. So this I trust. And also the YA hardcovers are cheaper than the adult hardcovers. But anyway, happy to support little indie bookshop. Yeah, so I had like my meeting with my friend, and then I went and browsed that bookshop for a while. And then I took like the longest. I tried to make a shortcut, and I'm terrible with shortcuts. I'm terrible with driving shortcuts. I tried to take a shortcut to a certain Goodwill to look for a bookcase for this project I'm on with my friend. Did not find bookcase. Took a really long time to get there. And then I was gonna like hit up a bunch of other ones, and then I realized it was 2:00 and I hadn't had lunch yet. So I said, okay, no, I will only go by the other Goodwill that I live near. Had some luck there with other things, but again, no bookcase. And then came home and had lunch by like 3:00. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go fold my laundry that's hanging on a rack in the corner of my room where I usually have to put my tripod for filming, so that if I do filming tomorrow, that space is already clear. And then also, if I want to do laundry tomorrow, which I probably should do, the putting away of laundry to make room to hang the clean stuff will already be done. Supposedly this other volunteer thing where I'm going to be doing a bunch of driving starts tomorrow, but I haven't received any details about it yet. So I'm going to assume that I'm off the hook for tomorrow. I am running through a gambit of thoughts right now. Hold on. Processing. What am I feeling? I'm detecting some lack of organization on the part of this group I'm volunteering with. And I'm trying to check that because they're all volunteers. No one gets paid for any of this. There is a lot of figuring shit out as they go. Instead of getting annoyed, it's just like, all right, if they haven't sent out instructions by the day before for this thing, then I'm going to assume it's not happening the next day. I feel like that's a safe assumption. And I'm a volunteer, which means there's only so much they can ask of me as well. There is only so much that can be expected of me as well. You know, that has to go both ways, where they're all volunteer run, so things might not happen immediately when they said it would, or go as long as, or be as finished as they said it would. And the flip side is true. Like, if they ask for volunteers and I'm like, well, you didn't get me information in time, I'm no longer available, like, there is a reasonable circumstance where that is not my fault. I think what causes it is valid, but it's not a frustration I need to hold on to. I can acknowledge it and think through it and let it go. Look at me being my own therapist. Am I doing it right? I don't know. Hello, I'm coming to you in all of my greasy hair Thursday morningness. I had a thought as I was starting to get ready and realizing like how many weird little things I have to do today, and like how things need to be done in a certain order. So I'm like, I need to make a to-do list. I don't know, maybe this is like interesting or useful for you to see or hear like what my thought process is of trying to get some things done today. So I need to make my to-do list, and I'm gonna try and write things down in the order that I need to do them. I think I talked about yesterday, like, things I wanted to get done today, Thursday, but I've also had a bit of an upset. I have something I am buying off of Facebook Marketplace, so that kind of throws a wrench into the middle of my day. Working through my brain. First thing, after I get ready, I'm going grocery shopping. And then I'm gonna try and film. Then it'll probably be lunchtime, and then I will be sitting at my computer, and hopefully it'll be early enough that I can write some emails. I need to email the volunteer people and ask them, do you think this thing is still happening this weekend? Should I keep my schedule clear? If you don't think it's going to happen, then I have shit to do. I'm not going to phrase it like that, but that's what I realized was I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think it's at the point where I can ask them if they think it's still going to happen this weekend. Emails will probably happen. Budget probably will happen later, because around then is going to be the furniture pickup. And then at 4:30, I'm going to go to the gym. And when I get back, my partner will be home. We will do dinner. And then I will become one with the couch. Because that's what always happens. And I'm looking at like things on my other to-do list stuff, and I'm just like, no. Groceries, film, emails, bookcase, gym. That's the goal for today. Okay. Let's go. Good morning. It's now Friday? It's Friday. Okay, I finally finished the 2 books I was reading. I finished Small Favor and To Hold the Bridge. I mean, Small Favor, Dresden Files, I mean, they tend to be pretty consistent and pretty solid. I thought the ending of this one was interesting. Because the story continues and we get involved with the Denarians, which are the fallen angels that are contained within 30 silver coins, 30 pieces of silver, if you get that biblical reference. And I liked that. I mean, anytime we have the Denarians and anytime we see Michael, who's one of the Holy Knights, we just get a lot of Christian mythology, which I think comes with the territory of a Holy Knight. I liked the reappearance of Sasha, who's another one of the knights. He's a Russian man who's black, which they actually, like, have a little, it's like a paragraph, but a little discussion about, like, being a black man in Russia, which I don't know what it would be like now, but it plays into, like, some character development of him. And I like him. He's because he's a holy knight, but he's also agnostic. And, like, that's a running commentary and a running joke. I keep saying, like, I like the ending, and then I get distracted. I like the ending because it's a little bit of vague spoiler. I'm not gonna tell you how it happens. But, I mean, there's so much going on in this whole series that I don't think anyone's gonna get mad at me about this. But we finally see the appearance of the powers of the archangels, which I'm interested to see where that goes, because it's like, yeah, if you're gonna, like, play with, you know, Christian mythology and, like, biblical figures, like, how, like, you are missing out if you don't include the powers of the notable archangels, because there is some really, like, terrifying, powerful, fascinating stuff wrapped up in those figures. So I'm curious to see, like, what plot points that creates in future books. But, like, overall, yep, still a fun audiobook listening experience. This is book number 10. I think the next book is the last book that I had read previously. So my story with this series is one summer during an internship when I had a lot of downtime, I read, like, the first 11 books in, like, 6 weeks. Because I had a lot of downtime in that internship. And I remember it was the books ended right before Ghost Story was supposed to come out, and I never read past that point. And if you know the series, you know that, like, fuck, that's a heck of a cliffhanger to end that series on. Yeah, I'm still, like, having fun with it. I think it's, again, like, I definitely really recommend the audio experience. It's James Marsters, who is the actor who played Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he's a fantastic voice actor, and he's kind of the standard I have now for male narrators narrating fiction and narrating the voices of women and children, because he doesn't do a falsetto, and, like, he really conveys personality in his voices more than, like, pitch or whatever, which I really like, because he's not putting on a voice that is, like, artificial to him. So, like, it doesn't take me out of the story when he's narrating, like, a female character, or, like, a child character, or, like, a very old character. Like, the voices, like, they very much convey the character without being like, this is a man trying to sound like a woman. Like, I don't get that. Let's see, To Hold the Bridge. Like, again, like, collection of short stories. I don't think my feelings have really changed that much. There was one story towards the end that, like, I almost DNF'd. And it's the story, I forget what it's called, something about Mars, but it's like a fan fiction of John Carter, which I don't know if it's like a book or a comic series. I know there was a movie, and I've seen like 5 minutes of the movie, but, like, I don't know the story. And this was definitely a short story where if I went in with zero context, I didn't fucking know what was going on. And there were just tons of references to these types of weapons and these characters and these types of creatures, and, like, you know, and remember, like, he said he would never do this, but of course you know he did. And it's like, I don't know what this is that you're talking about. Like, I almost DNF'd it because I'm like, I literally don't care, and I don't understand what's happening. Because I didn't have context. And that might have been a very different experience if I was familiar with the source material. There was an earlier short story that had the character of Hellboy, which I have seen both the movies, I think, more than once. So at least I had some base knowledge of that character and that world, and I was able to enjoy that story just fine. So it might have just been like an issue of context. Also, I didn't realize that this short story collection has a little short story that is a prequel to Shade's Children, which is one of Garth Nix's other notable standalone books. Which, whenever I do my Amnesia Reads Round 2, that one is, like, top of the list, because I know I've read it, and I have a cousin who's also a fan of Garth Nix, and that's his favorite book. And I'm like, yeah, I know I've read it, and I don't really remember anything about it. So that kind of feels like a sign that I need to reread that book in my near-ish future. So, cool. Alright, I'm gonna end this vlog here, and yep, and then start working on importing all the footage and trying to edit it into something that's not like 5 hours long. Great. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great weekend and a great rest of your day, and I will catch you folks in my next video. Bye!